And well. Welcome back to New York Sports WickerMedia. I'm Walk2K99. Thank you, as always, for taking the time to watch these videos. So what we're doing is doing NHL preview videos. We're doing one for the Rangers. We're doing one for the Devils. And this is the one for the New York Islanders, where we break these teams down, take a look at the rosters, the coaches, the intangibles, and try to get an idea of where they are heading into the 25-26 season. So the Islanders are sort of at a little bit of a crossroads. I mean, they made the playoffs 5 of their last 6 years, but it became apparent during the 24-25 campaign it was a team on the decline. They made back-to-back appearances in the Eastern Conference Finals. They then missed the playoffs in 21-22, and then in 23 and 24, they lose a series to the Carolina Hurricanes. And last year, there were injuries to a lot of key players: Scott Mayfield, Alexander Romanov, Adam Pelech, Anthony Duclair, and certainly Matthew Barzal. He played only 30 games, and that battered down an Islanders lineup that isn't exactly the deepest roster that you're going to find around the NHL. So then you go to this past offseason and look what happens. They win the draft lottery. They add Matthew Schaefer with the number 1 overall pick, so they add him to their defensive unit. They signed Jonathan Drouin to help bolster the scoring depth at wing. They had David Rittich as the backup goalie. Now, they do trade Noah Dobson to Montreal. A few other depth players left as well. All right, so let's look at this offense. Now, the Islanders' offense, I think the best way to describe that would be non-existent. They were tied for 27th in the league last year with 2.71 goals per game. Their power play clicked at only 12.6%. That's next to last in the NHL. That stinks. Now, Matthew Barzal is the identity of this offense, but he was also really the epitome of their struggles last year. He was injured. He missed 52 games, and his shooting percentage, his scoring percentage, was only 7.69%. He scored on 7.69% of his shots, whereas his career rate is over 10.5%. Now, he is a very smooth skater. He will make plays for you, and it really does stand out on an aging Islanders roster. And if the Islanders are going to go anywhere this year, Barzal needs to be at his best. Also down the middle, you have to look at Bo Horvat. He may be the only other producer who is going to, produce points for you on a consistent basis. He was the Islanders' leading scorer last season. I'm not sure that's exactly a compliment. He had 57 points, so that's not exactly setting the world on fire. Now, Jonathan Drouin, I mentioned him. He came over from Colorado, had 93 points in 122 games, but you got to remember, he's spending most of this time with players like Nathan McKinnon and Cale Makar, maybe 2 of the best players at their respective positions in hockey. Then you add Simon Holmstrom, 20 goals last year. Anderslee, who is now 35 years old, he had a pretty productive season. 29 goals, 54 assists. That's his best season since he was playing next to Jonathan Tavares. Can he do that again? And I've always been a big admirer of Kylepalmieri. He's averaging about 0.6 points per game over the last few seasons, which is very good. Not a superstar by any means, but is always very quietly productive, very reliable. And that does go a long way. And they added Anthony Duclair last year to help bolster the scoring. Well, he's a good option further down the depth chart, but still, his career high is only 58 points. And you look at the depth forwards, it's J.P. Pajot, Casey Cizikas, who's still hanging around, Maxim Saplakov. It's intriguing, but not necessarily what I would call intimidating. But one player I do want to highlight is Maxim Shabanov. I might be mispronouncing that name, but it's close enough. So he's 24 years old. He signed a 1-year deal with the Islanders after playing in the KHL. Several other teams wanted him, including the Rangers. Last season in 65 games, he recorded 67 points, 23 goals, 44 assists. And in the playoffs, 21 playoff games, he had 20 points, 10 goals, and 10 assists. And he helped his team, Tractor, make the KHL finals. So I feel like that is the wild card. If he can be a productive player for the Islanders, that could really help change the dynamic of that team. Now, as far as defense goes, I feel like you have a lot of decent defenders, but nobody particularly great. I mean, Alex Romanov, he just signed an 8-year extension. He isn't bad, but he isn't necessarily great at anything either. Tony DeAngelo is fine as a power play quarterback, but he cannot play defense. Last year, Ryan Pulak's game, it fell off into the Long Island Sound. Adam Pelech is still quite good, but I think the loss of Noah Dobson is going to hurt them, at least in the short term, as Matthew Schaefer becomes acclimated to the style of play in the NHL. And just to go a little bit deeper into that defense, you got to talk about the penalty kill. I mentioned earlier how bad the Islanders' power play last year was. Oh my gosh, the penalty kill? Not much better. Last year, it came in next to last in the NHL. It killed only 72.2% of opposing teams' power plays. And that was the year after coming in dead last in the prior year, 71.5%, dead last. So if the Islanders could stand to do one thing better, it's kill other teams' power plays. And then you look at the goaltending. Well, you have Ilyasorokin, and if the Islanders are going to compete for a playoff spot, if they are going to compete with the best teams in the Eastern Conference, Sorokin needs to play at elite level. Not good level, not very good. He needs to be elite. From 2020 to 2023, he was second in the NHL in save percentage at .924. Over the last 2 years, though, that has dipped down to 14th. Semyon Varlamov still under contract, but he's hurt with a knee injury. He hasn't played since last November. So the Islanders bring in David Rittich to help stabilize that backup goalie role. And then with the coaching, well, this season will be Patrick Roy's third behind the bench with the Islanders after replacing Lane Lambert. But it's kind of tough to get a read on if he is under fire or if his job is secure. So Matthew Darche, as he has come over to take over the Islanders front office, he chose to keep Roy, but how long is this leash? So far, his record is 55, 47, and 17. It's not great, but it's not bad enough to be fired. I guess the real thing to wonder about is what are the expectations of this front office? Are the Islanders looking to retool? Are they looking to rebuild? And are they looking to grow with a coach as the team grows? Or if their expectations are high and they feel like Roy is helping to bring the team down, then he may not be very long for this world. It's, and do they like him being the teacher during a rebuild? Could the Islanders sneak into the playoffs? Maybe. But to me, when you have a decent defense at best, I think it takes a step back this year with Noah Dobson gone and Schaefer adjusting. And is the offense really any better? I mean, I like Drouin, but again, how does he play when Nate McKinnon's not there? So to me, I could see the Islanders finishing around 5th, maybe 6th in the Metropolitan Division. I don't have them making the playoffs. That's my thought, but let me know what your thoughts are. Put them right down there in the comments. Everybody, and also, again, be sure to check out the Devils and Rangers videos, which will be up as well. Thank you very much for watching. Be sure to check me out 6 p.m. Wednesday nights for the live show. I'll see you all right back here with more content from you know where. The Wicker Chair.